There are 2 more weeks left in the fantasy football regular season, and time is running out to make a big time, impactful move that could change the course of your season, whether or not that is making or missing the playoffs. The waiver wire, with a lot of trade deadlines gone, is the only way to be able to do that now. And while this is not one of the more stacked waiver wires of the year, there are plenty of options that you can plug and play with bye weeks coming up or injuries in your lineup to give you a chance to make that playoff push. So let's get right into this video here on Blitz Fantasy Football. What's going on, everybody? I'm Blitz Link, and let's get into this waiver wire. Ultimately, like I mentioned, this is not a super stacked group. Last week was much better, but there are multiple players at receiver that I want to take a look at. There's a few running backs and a few tight ends and quarterbacks that we are going to talk about as well. Let's talk about Kayshon Boutte, wide receiver for the New England Patriots, rostered in 37% of leagues. He returned from his hamstring injury in week 12, and while it was a very disappointing performance with only 15 yards against this Bengals secondary and a 5.7% target share, he will bounce back. When he got reinserted into this lineup, his snap share jumped above 80% for the first time since week 1. They desperately missed their deep threat, and Kayshon Boutte has been that guy for them down the field the entire season. He's had multiple wide receiver 2 performances this year, and with the Patriots matchups upcoming, I really like his long-term outlook. He gets the Giants and the Ravens. His next two opponents both rank inside the top 12 in deep ball completion rate allowed, setting the stage for big splash plays. His matchup next week against the New York Giants allowed the 6th most fantasy points to wide receivers and the 3rd most deep target receiving yards in the NFL. He does have a week 14 bye, but in week 13, a very strong plug and play option in a lot of lineups. The next guy, Dalton Schultz, tight end for the Houston Texans, still rostered in under 50% of leagues. And while I thought Dalton Schultz was beyond cooked after his season last year and the start of this year, he has really started to become one of the more reliable low-end tight end ones. Doesn't have a great ceiling, but it seems like he has a great floor. His 10.7 PPR points per game rank among the best of the streaming options available. Since week 3, he has an 18.2% target share and a 20.4% first read share. This season, he has top 12 marks in receptions, receiving yards, yards after the catch. He's 6th in red zone targets, 5th in deep targets. His usage has just been very impressive this year. This season, with a bunch of Houston Texans pass catchers being in and out of the lineup, the move to Davis Mills at quarterback has definitely helped boost his fantasy volume with the increased usage of the tight end targets. The next two matchups are against the Colts and the Cardinals, who have struggled against tight ends. The Colts, right, ranked 2nd and 8th in fantasy points allowed to the tight end position. So it's very, very encouraging that we're going to get some popular matchups where we can target them, and Dalton Schultz being a firm tight end 1 over the next few weeks. Chris Rodriguez Jr., another strong option off the waiver wire. Probably my favorite running back to go add. Rostered in 16% of leagues. I hope a lot of you guys saw the video last week and were able to stash him heading into this week. But a really strong ad after starting in weeks 10 and 11 and returning from injury. He handled 15 carries for 79 yards in week 12, and he's locked in as Washington's lead back. He's averaging nearly 4.7 yards per carry, and he's outperformed Ja'Cory Chimere in every meaningful area over the last month. Any running back that's going to receive potentially 15 plus touches is a guy that we want to take a look at off of waivers. Now, his schedule is not great. He gets the Denver Broncos and the Minnesota Vikings over his next two, but to close in the playoffs, he gets the Giants, Eagles, and Cowboys in weeks 15 through 17, and that is very encouraging for a guy that's seen 160 yards over his last 3 outings. And the good news that we also got today is Jayden Daniels will not return this week, but he's back at the practice field, likely will return here in week 14, and that's only going to help Chris Rodriguez be even more efficient and effective in fantasy football. The next guy is Trevor Lawrence, quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. There is no quarterback, maybe Bo Nix, that has been more up and down throughout this entire season than Trevor Lawrence. He's had super highs and he's had some massive lows, and this was highlighted by 256 passing yards and 3 touchdowns with 3 interceptions last week against the Arizona Cardinals. What's been interesting with Trevor Lawrence this year, he's had some really good rushing usage, 5 or more carries and 3 touchdowns over his last 4 games, which is elite. And he's also missing Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, but that hasn't stopped him from scoring at least 16 points in 6 of his last 7 games since week 6. And his average of 17.7 points per game puts him at the quarterback 14. Now, where it's intriguing for Trevor Lawrence is this matchup this week against the Tennessee Titans, whether or not you need a streaming quarterback. the Titans are a matchup you want to target. They've been pretty favorable to quarterback production this year, and I do think Cam Ward might be able to keep this game close enough to where Trevor Lawrence is getting that volume throughout. If you're looking for a long-term stash, he also has some viability. He gets the Colts twice, he gets the Jets, the Broncos are in that schedule as well, which is a bit scary, but definitely some favorable matchups in there that you can target with Trevor Lawrence, making him an intriguing waiver wire add. The other guy, Christian Watson for the Green Bay Packers, who also was on this list, but is still rostered in under 50% of leagues. He has been the clear wide receiver one for the Packers, operating at a 32% target share. This past week, he had 5 catches, 49 yards. Not necessarily elite, but he's been very good. And Jordan Love's top read in the passer game since returning from his ACL tear. He's averaging a 22.6 average depth of target and an over 20% first read share since returning. The combination of those two numbers in general are very impressive for him. And he's seen at least 4 targets in every game since he returned. What Christian Watson's been in the past is a deep threat, not enough volume to be consistent in fantasy. And he's finally starting to see that volume, which is encouraging because he gets some vulnerable defenses against the deep ball coming up in the Bears, Ravens, and the Vikings. I absolutely love Christian Watson. I think he's a viable wide receiver 3 going forward. The other guy that could be a solid plug and play option is Devin Neal for the New Orleans Saints. He's only rostered in 3% of leagues. Alvin Kamara left this week early with an injury. Devin Neal played 57 of 66 possible snaps after Alvin Kamara was injured. Kendre Miller is already injured, and in that time, Devin Neal handled 7 carries, season best 5 catches for 43 yards. And I know the rushing efficiency wasn't necessarily there for him, and Taysom Hill is definitely going to vulture some of those carries around the goal line. Anytime you can add a running back that's going to get 12 to 16 touches a game off the waiver wire, you need to take those chances immediately and snag those guys. So with Devin Neal, I'm targeting him as much as possible and finding a way to get him on the waiver wire in case Alvin Kamara, who is an older running back, misses any time. Let's get to some flashy rookies at the receiver position. Jayden Higgins, 22% rostered. He has been rising throughout the season, and in week 12 saw a 30% target share, 38 receiving yards, and a touchdown. His route participation has been growing steadily, hitting 67.7% in his last game. He's also running 1.93 yards per route run, which is very encouraging as well. Davis Mills has been looking great at him, and he's also now operating as the second most utilized receiver in this Houston Texans offense in snaps played and routes run. Nico Collins has been healthy, and it's been encouraging that they've utilized him alongside Nico Collins because the only other time that he was utilized with them was when he was out. So it's encouraging he's getting this bump in terms of usage. The Texans do have some nice matchups upcoming where Jayden Higgins could be viable. So Jayden Higgins, take a look at him. And then my favorite stash, Luther Burden of the Chicago Bears. They're finally utilizing him like he should be used. Olamide Zaccheaus is officially falling in that depth chart. He's their wide receiver 4. Burden, after being a starter last week, hit up a 60% route share with 46 receiving yards in week 12, and he had a rushing attempt as well. His first read share has quietly, strongly grown over the past few weeks, and it's right around Rome Odunze and DJ Moore's as well. Burden brings a rare explosive yak ability to create within this offense, and with his snap shares climbing around over that 60% mark, he is going to be a very valuable player for this Bears team. He might be the highest upside option in this team, and I'm willing to take that risk on Luther Burden, stashing him on my bench, because if he does live up to his potential, he is going to be a monster player to win some leagues. Chimere Dike for the wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans. Very, very good player. He's missing right now, this Titans wide receiver room, Calvin Ridley and Alec Ayomanor, with Tennessee down to Van Jefferson, Mason Kinsley, and a practice squad call-ups. Chimere Dike is one of the best pickups in fantasy football. He's already ranked 9th in the NFL in design target share, and the Titans also ranked 9th in pass plays per game. Compare those numbers together, he's going to have some decent volume. He's already sitting around that 13.1 points per game average since week 7, partly due to his punt returns that he's been able to score, and he has the 15th easiest schedule among wide receivers to close the season. So with him, I'm intrigued. I think that he could be a consistent option to close this year and a potential plug-and-play option in week 14 with a ton of bye weeks. Let's get into the defense, the Los Angeles Chargers for this week. My favorite defense to pick up and stream. They're going against the Raiders. We all know this matchup is one that we want to target. I know Chip Kelly got fired. They might be a little bit better this week, but Geno Smith has been a turnover machine this year, 13 interceptions and taken 41 sacks, including 10 last week alone. The Chargers have had some really good performances, and if they are able to stop the run, they should be in for a nice day in fantasy. As far as some injury notes here, if Ashton Genty and Quinshon Judkins are expected to miss any time before that Wednesday deadline, it is worth taking a look at Dylan Sampson for the Browns, who will operate as the primary running back if Judkins were missed any time. And then if Ashton Genty, who left the game and did not return, does miss any time, it is going to be a split between Zamir White and Raheem Mostert. White will likely take some of that early down work, or Raheem Mostert will play on third down. You kind of pick your poison, which one you would want to go with, but I don't think either are viable in starting lineups. With Dylan Sampson, I do think there is some viability there, plugging and playing him in your starting lineup with his pass catching upside. Let's get into some honorable mentions here. There's not really much quarterbacks to take a look at. I do think Tyrod Taylor and Shedeur Sanders both have good matchups that you could target heading into week 12. But at running backs, you have Bashul Tutin, who had a quiet game, only 17 rushing yards after being on the injury report. He's worth the stash. Nick Chubb got some more involvement. Devin Singletary is right there with Tyrone Tracy in usage. Jaleel McLaughlin's a name I'm not really buying into, but a lot of people are high on him. Not sure if I am going to buy into him like other people, but he's a name to watch. As far as wide receivers go, Parker Washington and Trevor Lawrence clearly have a strong rapport worth taking a look at, but when Brian Thomas Jr. Returns, it feels like his production is going to dip. Tez Johnson seems to score a touchdown every week. Will depend on if Baker Mayfield is healthy going forward. Jalen Coker plays tonight. We'll see how that goes. Greg Dortch had a nice game. John Mechie and Adonai Mitchell are two names to watch. Both players have been really productive. Tyrod Taylor at quarterback at least improves that Jets pass catching upside. Two interesting stashes this week with a favorable Jets schedule coming. As far as the tight ends go, Colston Loveland, a name still rostered in under 50% of leagues, finally outsnapped Cole Kmet. Need to take a look at him. Brenton Strange is back. AJ Barner in there as well. Defenses I also like to take a look at are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. As far as droppable players go, Joe Flacco is not going to start this week. It'll be Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, so he is officially no longer usable in fantasy. Jordan Mason just hasn't seen the usage we've wanted from him. You can drop him. Rashid Shaheed, same type of scenario with him. It's been 3 weeks since he's been traded. No significant increase in playing time. Chris Godwin, not necessarily been very good this year. Baker Mayfield misses time. Not sure if you want him anymore. Then TJ Hawkinson. Can't trust these Minnesota pass catchers with JJ McCarthy at the helm. Guys, I'm not dropping yet. Baker Mayfield at quarterback, even if he is injured, stash him on IR. See if you can get him in some better matchups to close the year. David Montgomery, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, he played a season low snap percentage this past week. Not looking great for him. Ramondre Stevenson as well. Travion Henderson looks like he's won that backfield. And then Jordan Addison's been a non-factor with McCarthy at the helm. I would still hold on to him with a lot of other options on this wide receiver group. I would rather have less than Addison's upside this year. And then Kyle Pitts at tight end, down the last few weeks, but still a guy that you should consider rostering this year. Ultimately, though, guys, that is my favorite waiver wire targets heading into week 13. Drop any sort of waiver wire questions, whether that's fab, priorities, whatever it is, down in the comments section below. Help us reach our goal of 500 subscribers, and I'll catch you guys next time here on Blitz Fantasy Football.